Hi everyone, Shay here with HDPhotoHub. We've got a lot of updates for you in this release. The big one is the first version of the revenue section on the dashboard, where you can see your total revenue along with things like average order value, average client value, and new versus returning clients, with options to view by day, week, month, or year, and compare against last period or year over year. We also brought shopping cart pages and the report section into the new interface, added support for delivering DWG files, and made the legacy site summary a lot faster. All right, we have a lot to cover. Let's take a look. We'll start by jumping over into the new interface by clicking our name in the upper right and then New Interface. Over in the new interface, I'm on the dashboard, and this is the first place I want to show you some updates that we made. So this is the first version of the new dashboard. And I say the first version, we're going to be adding a lot more metrics and panels to this. This is just our first revenue panel, but I wanted to show you guys what we have so far, start getting you guys' feedback, and let you start utilizing this one. So revenue, that's the first one here. We're going to start in the upper right. I'm just going to show you these, and then I'll show you what they actually look like when I toggle between them later. But we have today, week, month, and year. So we have some different time frames that we can visualize this data in. The first one is week, and that's the one we're going to start in. And I'm just going to walk you around this panel and just cover all the numbers that you see here. And then I'll show you a couple other settings as we wrap up in this area here. So we have the main revenue number. So again, we're in the week view right now. So for this week, I've brought in a little over 7,000. And we have week over week and year over year numbers or comparisons that you can look at. So if I have week over week here, if you click these will toggle between week over week and year over year. If you want to see how you stack up last week versus the same week last year. And so we have the main revenue number. And then I also have this broken down into 3 different buckets. So we have collected, awaiting payments, and then upcoming. So collected, that is money in hand. So you've been paid for that portion of it. Awaiting payment is things that have been delivered but have not been paid yet. And then upcoming are things that have not been delivered and have not been paid. So if you add all these up, you get your revenue number. And then this is visualized off on the right-hand side in the graphs here. So the blue line is your current period. And then we're comparing that to last week and then last year. So you can kind of see how you stack up based on those 2 other time frames. And then as I move around too, you'll see the tooltip will give me a little bit more detail. So if I wanted to see, on Tuesday, I collected about $3,000. Last week on Tuesday, about 24, and then last year on this Tuesday, about 26. So along the x-axis in week mode, I have the days of the week. And then along the bottom here, we do have orders placed. You can see how that compares to the same time frame week over week. You can click this to see year over year as well. Average order value, average client value, and then we have new versus returning. So if I want to see the breakdown on the percent of orders that came in from a new client versus a returning client, I'll see that broken out in this one here. And I can see in this week, I have not taken any new orders from new clients. Everything has come in from existing clients. All right, and then looking at the top right, we can jump around to a couple different time frames. So I'm going to look at today. And so all the same metrics that I showed you in the week view, this is just going to adjust for today. The x-axis is going to update to hours. So I'm going to see the hours of the day along the x, so I can see as things come in, the hours that those orders are being placed. In month view, I'm looking at the days of the week, the days of the month on the x-axis. So as I go along here, I'm looking at particular days. I can see how they stack up against that same day last month or the same day last year. And then same thing with the year. I'm looking at it as a whole year. So I'm looking at the months along the x-axis here. And I can see that my total revenue for the year so far is about 46,000. And then I'm up about 6% over last year. One of the other things that we added to this is the ability to break down the revenue or visualize the revenue in a couple different ways. And you can access that by this button up in the upper right or by clicking this title here. And so I'll click the icon. And these are the revenue settings. And so our default, and this is the same default as is in Legacy, so all revenue by order date. So as orders are placed, they're being counted towards your revenue. It doesn't matter if they're paid or not, they're just instantly counted towards your revenue. If you'd prefer to only see collected money, you can switch to collected, and that's only going to show you the things that have been paid. So revenue that has not been paid will not count towards your revenue, only items that have been collected. We also have some options for the date basis when we count that revenue. So order date just means on the date that it was ordered, we will count it. We also have appointment date. That's looking at the first scheduled appointment date is the date that we will count that revenue. And then we also have delivery date. And so if you don't want that revenue counted until you actually deliver it, we do have an option for that as well. Then one other thing I'll note too, if you're looking at these numbers versus legacy, the new interface is not counting tax towards your revenue. And so if you see a slight discrepancy between legacy and the new interface, that is most likely what you're seeing there, is that tax is not being accounted for or contributed towards your revenue in the new interface. All right, that's the revenue section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Any feedback that you have, shoot it my way. But we're going to jump into the next section now, and that's it, looking at the order form. For that, we're going to hop over into a new tab, and then from the left-hand menu, we're going to go to order form, and then we're going to start on products here. So this is the products page that has been completely been brought over into the new interface. So everything has been updated to the new UI. A couple of the updates that I wanted to call out here is the search button, or excuse me, search bar at the very top. So you can now search for categories or product names to quickly filter out items that you're looking for. Super handy, especially if you have a very long list of products. You can find things super quick by using the search at the top. And then we also added a universal add button. So before you had to scroll all the way to the bottom if you wanted to add things like categories or dividers, you can now do that just from this add button here to quickly add products, packages, categories, or dividers. One note here, so if you're adding a product, you can assign it to any category while you're creating it just from the drawer here. So you don't have to go directly to that category. You can just click to add a product and then assign it to the correct category from the drawer there. You can also, of course, go to that category, click Add Product. That's another way of adding a product directly to a category, but you have multiple options for getting those created, either at the very top or within the category itself. Another improvement that we made is to the icons that we show on products. If you're using square footage ranges or quantity products, we're now going to show that information on the icon without having to hover, just to expose a little bit more information at a glance as you're looking through your products. One other thing to note here too is as you're adding products and categories, the page does not need to refresh any longer, so you can quickly add products without the need for the page to refresh. So it should make adding those, products, categories, things like that, much more seamless and efficient. So I mentioned the order form. So all of the pages that you see over here, so underneath products, so order forms, order questions, all the way down to fees, those have all been updated and brought over into the new interface. So I'm going to let you guys explore those and look at those. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but all of those pages have been brought over into the new interface. And that does include the reports section as well. So all the reports, we have all the ones that you're familiar with here, but each of those have been updated, the look and feel of them. Those will all be in the new interface. All right, I have a couple more updates I want to mention. The first one is over on the site media page. So I'm going to hop over into a new tab. I'm going to go to media and then cruise down to the attachments section here. So we added the ability to add a DWG file. So if you have clients that are looking for that as a deliverable, you can now hand that off to them as an attachment. One thing to note, this is a CAD file. It's not something that we're going to display on a listing site. So on that single page website, you won't see that represented, but this will be available as a download asset on the download page. So that's another addition that we made. And then the last thing I want to mention is over in the legacy platform. Over on the site summary, we did a lot of things behind the scenes here to make this function a lot faster. So in the past, when you were doing things like changing photographers or updating, time on site or the appointment time, there's a little bit of a delay there. But as you can see there, that's now changing almost instantly. So a lot of things behind the scenes that you can't see, but the end result is that the site summary will be very or much more responsive now as you're making changes to items on the invoice. All right, that's everything for this update. Take a look at the new revenue section of the dashboard and let me know what you think. Also jump on the cart and report pages too. We'll be making improvements there soon, and any feedback you send our way will help shape what we update. As always, thanks for being part of HDPhotoHub, and we'll see you in the next update.